And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter are Rapuano versus McCoy. Step forward.
Michael Rapuano is suing his former friend, 21-year-old Michael Aaron McCoy, for a loan to cover expenses during a vacation in Los Angeles.
This is sort of an interesting case, Mr. Rapuano. Mr. McCoy is a friend of yours.
Yes.
And there was a time back in 2012, because of the death of your mom, you wanted, according to you, to take a holiday.
Correct.
To come to Los Angeles with a couple of friends. You had inherited some money?
No, Your Honor, it was just from working.
So you had savings?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you asked the defendant and another friend to accompany you on the trip?
Yeah, there are actually 4 of us altogether. There were 3 other friends.
Did you host the other friend as well?
Yes.
So the idea was you were going to pay for the airline and hotel and what kind of places you ate at in Los Angeles while you enjoyed the sights.
Correct, Your Honor.
Well, then it appeared that the defendant and a friend, accompanied by you and the other friend, went to a game show.
Correct.
Which program was that?
Was Let's Make a Deal.
And you, Mr. McCoy, and your friend were chosen to participate in this show.
That's right.
What was your friend's name?
Marco.
Well, it seems that you and Marco had luck that day and won a total in cash and prize of about $24,000.
Correct.
By the way, did you ever pay taxes on the $24,000?
Yes.
What do you mean, yes? What does that mean?
Well, only some of it was cash.
Well, you also have to pay tax on the gifts. How much tax did you pay?
I'm not sure.
What do you mean you're not sure?
I'm assuming they just take it right out of the thing. I don't know.
Take what out of what thing?
When they send it to me.
You mean they took out of the cash award before they sent it to you?
Correct.
What the tax was?
Correct.
How much did you net?
I'm not sure. I don't do my paperwork, Your Honor.
I actually know.
You mean you have a personal assistant or an accountant?
Well, my mother.
How old are you?
21, Your Honor.
Now, how much was the net check you received?
I'm not sure.
About. Don't speak. About.
700.
And what other prizes did you receive?
Well, the prizes were between the 2 of us. So there was a trip and a grill.
Just a second. It was a trip to where?
The Philippines.
Did you go?
No, I did not.
What happened to that trip?
Marco, I believe he sold the trip and split the money with me.
What do you mean you believe? What does that mean, you believe?
Well, he told me he sold the trip and then he gave me some cash. I mean,
how much cash did he give you?
It was a little under $1,000. About 800, Your Honor.
So we have a trip to the Philippines. Go ahead.
There was a grill that was worth, I think, somewhere around $2,000.
And what happened to the grill? Jump.
I'm sorry.
You want me to throw you out?
I'm sorry.
I'll be happy to do that. The grill. What happened to the grill?
It's still trying to be sold.
Where is it?
At Marco's.
What else?
Some other stuff. I personally won $700 in cash, and then he won $23,000. And then, since we played as a team on the game show, we decided to split it down the middle. So he split his earnings with me. So he won all that stuff. It was shipped to his own home, and then he split, was trying to sell it and to split the money with me.
I don't understand what you mean when you say we played as a team.
Well, there's a game on the show where they pick 2 people from the crowd, and you come on, and one person picks either a prize or a curtain, and I picked the prize. I took the money instead of winning the prize, so I took the $700.
So you took the Oh, eventually I'm going to get down to the bottom of this. Eventually. So you played as a team, but at the end you weren't a team. At the end, you took the safe way out.
Correct.
And you took $700.
Correct.
And Marco continued to play.
Correct, Your Honor.
And Marco won the $24,000. I mean, I just want you to understand that eventually it all will become clear to me, sir. Do you understand?
Well, absolutely.
Great.
It's not exactly as he describes it, Your Honor.
Well, is the game as he described it?
Not exactly.
You explain the difference to me.
They were selected to play in the game show as 2 friends, and they went on stage.
Yes.
The host of the show had them decide between themselves who would take what.
Right.
So Marco actually said, you take the small box. He said, okay, I'll take a small box. I'll take the curtain. They agreed between themselves what they would do, and they didn't care because they were going to split it anyway.
No. Splitting it anyway is what they decided to do, you say, amongst themselves. Had nothing to do with the show. He only got $700.
From the actual...
will only be charged $700 for whatever tax they took out,
7%.
whereas Marco will be taxed by the IRS in the amount of $23,000.
As far as I know, they took 7% out in taxes.
I don't care as far as you know. As far as you know means nothing to me without the other person here. Do you understand?
He refused to come on the show.
I don't care what he refused to do. Probably very smart of all of you.
I have an email from him.
Probably very smart. I don't read emails from people who are not here as witnesses.
And I have a copy of the money order.
I have interest in seeing hearsay evidence that supports your position that he owes you $5,000. That's ridiculous, because what you say is that the two of them agreed to give you expenses for an upgrade because you were supposed to pay for everything. But because they had such a big win, they said, oh, let's do this first class. Let's go to good restaurants. Give me some spending money. Give me this. And so he owes you $5,000 because Marco, according to you, has already paid you.
I have one payment from him already.
Listen to me.
I have a money order copy.
According to you, Marco has already paid you. Marco won $24,000. He won $700. That's not what anybody says, by the way, in their papers. This was all a bunch of little poking. So Marco gave you $5,000.
No, Your Honor. He's making payments to me. He's made one payment. I have a copy of the postal money order.
Great. So he made one payment, and he is, according to you, the reason you're not suing him is that he's paying you.
Correct.
Well, he's the big winner.
Regardless of whether Mr. McCoy made any money from the show or not is irrelevant. The fact is that they convinced me to spend more money that I would otherwise not have spent.
Sorry, can't help you. Did you have a good time with your $700?
Yes, I did.
Great. And did you spend any of the $700 while you were in Los Angeles?
I didn't get the money.
Because you didn't have the money. And when you got the money, the $700, what did you do with it?
Well, I put it in savings and lived off of it. Because taking the one-week trip lost my job, and I've been unemployed since.
Great. He doesn't have 5,000 cents. Goodbye.
Please excuse me. Step out.
He offered to pay everything from the beginning, from the get-go, and it was his decision to upgrade everything once we won the money.
No, I was covering the expenses, and then when they won the money, they had actually offered to cover all the expenses for the trip entirely.
As soon as the money had came in, he wanted to do all these awesome things, and
they just wanted to upgrade the trip and really I've been to Los Angeles many times. They had not. They just wanted to experience Los Angeles and have fun.
I mean, I just wanted to save the money, honestly, and put it in.
I don't want anything that they won. I don't want any of the prizes. I just want the money that they convinced me to spend. I don't even drink alcohol. And Mr. McCoy was at the bar drinking $30 cocktails.
I mean, he's the one that brought me here, so if he's willing to be friends, that's cool, but I won't take the chance again.
I don't speak to either one of them.
Definitely, money changes friendship.
Not to lend money anymore.
This is a relatively easy contract case. The subject matter may be a little unusual, but the case shouldn't be. Mr. Bailey, do you make your living doing magic?
I do now, yes.
Now, since when?
Since 1989.
That's an odd answer, then. I mean, because that's a long time ago. When I said, do you do magic as a living? If you do it since 1989, that's a very long time. Do you do magic alone to make a living?
Yes.
And you've been doing that since 1989?
Correct.
You do that on your own, or you have a troupe, or is it just you?
I started a nonprofit organization that helps me to put shows together, veteran shows, fundraisers for Native American causes, as well as for school assemblies.
Are you registered with the government as a nonprofit organization?
Yes, I have a 501c3.
What's the name of the organization?
Linking Rings Performing Arts.
Did you draw a salary?
No.
How do you support yourself?
From the shows that we get and the sponsors that we...
Well, explain. So you're a 501c3 corporation.
Correct.
That you started in 1989 to put on shows for various groups of people.
I do fundraisers for them.
How do you make your money?
I make my money based on if it's a production that I need to buy illusions for, I go to the foundations or sponsors, they give us money, and then I also get the money for my salary from the different foundations. Or
what foundations?
Like there was one that
I want you to give me a very clear example, Mr. Bailey, of how since 1989 you support yourself from this 501c3 corporation. I want to understand it because I like to learn new things, but I'm, thick. So you're going to have to explain it to me like a child, like I'm not a lawyer. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. What I do is I would go to a foundation or to a sponsor, corporate sponsor, tell them that I'd like to have you give us the money for us to do this production. Included in the production is also a fee, which is a reduced fee for myself.
For you. So you go to, let's say, American Express, and say to American Express, I want to put on a magic production for the American Legion in San Francisco. That production is going to cost $50,000. Will you sponsor the production?
Correct.
And they give you $50,000, and from that $50,000, you draw a portion of that for your own income.
Correct.
For either performing the magic trick and or putting together the production.
Correct.
Okay. What percentage do you draw from the sponsor? It's either a percentage or a flat figure.
It's a flat figure, and it's usually $500.
How many of these do you do a year?
I'm budgeted for 10, and then I make the rest of my income on it's not through the nonprofit at all. It's shows that I pick up along the way, whether it be birthday parties or...
Okay. Well, now we're getting, eventually I get the story, Mr. Bailey. So you perform yourself at other functions, birthday party, an anniversary party, a bar mitzvah, an upscale funky wedding, and for that you are paid as an individual.
Correct.
I've used magicians at parties of my own very often, but if you're budgeted for 10 performances at $500, that a living does not make since 1989.
Yes.
What's the name of your individual company?
Tamaka's Magical Tour, Magical Tales.
Tamaka's Magical Tales.
Yes, in the magic performance that I do, it has a theme of Native American storytelling.
Now, you had a magic trick.
Correct.
That he wanted.
That's correct.
Mr. Bailey gave you some money.
Yes.
For this trick.
Yes.
Well, I think they don't call it a trick anymore. That has a negative connotation. They call it an illusion.
An illusion, yeah.
As we get older, we know more and more about illusions. How long have you been in that business?
Well,
That's not a hard question. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years.
since I was 13, so yeah.
So you've
41
been building
years.
things for a long time.
Yes,
And Mr. Bailey gave you some money to build this illusion that he had seen.
correct.
How much money did Mr. Bailey give you?
Well,
No, not a well.
Okay.
Look here,
Okay.
a well is not a number. How much money did he give you?
it was $64.50 deposit.
$64.50.
Yeah, $64.50.
Did you contract?
There was no written contract because I had already had prototyped this specific
No.
illusion.
Don't tell me because.
Yeah.
He gave you $64.50 for what?
This particular illusion that he had seen advertised, and his contract was through a mediator, a retailer, that I was selling them through.
So let me try, you people are all trying to confuse an old lady and double talk me. Mr. Bailey saw a trick. We're going to get down to basics now.
Yes.
Saw a trick in a retail establishment. He did a little research. He found out that you were the one who made the trick.
They pointed him in my direction, yes, ma'am.
I don't know what they did, but it seems stupid as for a retailer to say, listen, don't buy the trick from me. Go to the person who makes it for me and cut me out.
Well, I drop ship everything for them, Your Honor.
So what you're saying is he pays retail price.
Correct.
He personally gave you his check, or did it come through someone else?
It was through his nonprofit foundation.
Oh, I'm already not liking this. I'm already not liking this. So let's understand this. The check you got came from your 501c3 organization, and that money is money that you get from Amex to put on shows for organizations that would otherwise not be able to have those things. But the majority of your money is made from doing magic privately,
Correct.
not through this. So why would you use 501c3 money to pay for this magic trick?
Because the magic tricks that I use, or effects that I use, I guess it's an illusion, are just to focus on the nonprofit the ones that I do for nonprofit, because by technically they own the
baloney. That's baloney. According to you, if I believe everything that you said to me, you take a $500 fee, Mr. Bailey, and you're budgeted, I don't know what that means, for a maximum of 10 performances a year. That's $5,000. And you gave him, according to this, $6,450. So something is not making sense to me.
Well, what I did, I have the check right here of the amount that we gave. It was under the understanding that I was going to the sponsor to pay for the balance.
Why would you go to the sponsor to pay for anything? You're going to use it for private purposes. Why would you ask a foundation to pay for anything that you're going to do privately? That doesn't make sense. It's very smart. But
no, what it is the show that we were doing was at the American Legion. What?
You were going to do one show with this trick, is what you're telling me?
No, it was going to be more than one show.
Two shows. 5 shows.
Correct. It was going to be put in the act, except for the acts that I was going to do on my own, because I have a separate set of illusions just for that. Matter of fact, I don't even have illusions.
Mr. Bailey, I want to tell you something. I'm not buying what you're giving me, because it sounds like an illusion to me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Magician Robert Bailey says illusion builder David Pavlov owes for the return of money he paid for an illusion.
Mr. Bailey, I want you to pay careful attention to me.
Yes, ma'am.
The hairs on the back of my neck are standing up. That's never a good sign for you. You can either have me finish this case, or you can go back to small claims court and sue Mr. Pavlov, and I will dismiss your case without prejudice. Because I'm telling you right now, this case is going to take a lot longer, with a lot more paperwork than you got there in front of you. And quite frankly, you're not going to wind up with the answer that you want from me. Because when you have a 501c3 corporation, that means that whatever you do, you're really doing from here. You're not doing it for here, you're doing it from here. So I think that this is sort of a gray overlapping between charity and not. And I don't want Mr. Pavlov to get away with anything, because if he in fact took the money and didn't provide you with the piece of equipment that you want, you should be entitled to it back. And he should not be able to profit from that. However, if what you are using are funds that I find sort of suspect, I'm not going to make that dirty hand clean. So I would strongly recommend, Mr. Bailey, that you go back and try to convince another judge someplace else. Not this one. She's too much of a hard egg. That by you using 501c3 funds to buy a magic trick for so far $6,500.
The total amount was $19,000.
I don't care what it was. So total amount $19,000. So you got a sponsor to pay $19,000. That's what you were looking for, to buy a magic trick. It's not going to play with me. And I don't like him to get away with anything, because I think that he owes you some money, or he owes somebody some money, and I don't know who. So I think you should go back. Try to square it away. You're not going to square it away with me. Go back someplace else. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, excuse me. Step out.
For 2 years, I've had the illusion. They want their money back. I'm saying I fulfilled my part of the agreement.
It's sawing a person into thirds, and it's not your assistant, it's an audience member.
He's a consummate professional.
It's making me feel bad. I should next time learn from this that I'm not a very good of character.
And now the next case.
Sworn in, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Holland, I assume this is your boyfriend, Chance. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And the two of you together have a child, or is that child just your child?
She's just mine.
How old is that child?
3.
This is your boyfriend, Chance's aunt.
Yes,
Excuse
ma'am.
me, Your Honor. I just want to let you know that he's my nephew, but I raised him since he was 10, and he's lived with me all along. So he's like my son.
Now, this is what your case is about. You don't work.
No.
Chance doesn't work.
No.
Miss Peterson let you all come and live with her.
Yes.
She works.
Yes.
She was paying the rent.
No, ma'am. We were paying the rent, too.
With what type of currency were you paying the rent?
I get welfare and he gets SSI. So we pulled our money out of that.
You pulled your money. You mean you pulled my money?
Yes, ma'am.
That's my money. How much were you giving her in rent?
Each of us gave her $260.
Did the plaintiff give you $260?
Neither one of them. The exchange was I paid the rent, they paid the utilities.
That is not true.
Well, that sounds right to me. How much was the rent?
It was $775, something. It was $800, say.
Are you still living there?
No.
When did you leave?
I left. We moved in. I think it was the 1st of November.
1st of November of 2012.
Yes. And his Uncle Dave delivers furniture. And he left with him one weekend to go help him do that.
What? I'm not following you.
Okay.
Step back.
Okay, I'll step back.
This is what the case is about.
Okay.
You claim that she owes you utility bill because the utilities were in your name and your name alone. You moved out. She didn't take the utilities out of your name. She never paid the utilities. She says that was the deal. She paid the rent on the apartment. You and the boyfriend were supposed to cover the utilities. That's what the case is about. Okay? Now, when you paid your rent, who did you pay your rent to?
I would pull my money out and hand it to him, and when the landlord came, he would go to the door with her to specifically give her the money.
What kind of apartment was this?
It was a house apartment.
A house apartment.
It was a duplex.
A duplex.
What?
A duplex.
Where did the landlord live?
A couple blocks from us. Right where she lived, but I know I would call her to come and get the rent, and she'd come right over.
And when she came to get the rent, did you pay her in check or cash?
I paid her in cash.
Now, how much do you receive in welfare?
$490.
For you and your daughter?
Yes.
How much does the boyfriend get from SSI?
$866.
You had a fight with him at some point, and he left the duplex, or you left the duplex?
No, I left.
Where did you go?
Back to my mom's in Ontario.
And how long did you stay there?
Just up until April, and we got back together, and I moved back in with him.
How did you get back to your mom's in Ontario?
My friend.
Who?
My friend Brittany.
How did she get you back to Ontario?
She has a car, and she asked her husband if she could come pick me up because we broke up.
Can I say something, Your Honor? That night she's talking about, I was at a friend's house, and he come banging on the door, and he had blood on his eye. She kicked him real bad. She shoved him down because he can't really see that good. And I was like, what happened? And he says, I want her out now. Look what she did to me. So I went over, and she started yelling at me in front of her little girl. I said, don't do this in front of your daughter. I said, look,
I did not yell.
Okay, now they're all back together again. Never supposed to interfere in domestic situations because they'll get back together and there's only one person who's bad, and that's you. And you've been the one. You lived with your aunt most of your life?
Half my life, Your Honor.
Half your life. How old are you?
I'm 21, ma'am.
Well, half your life is since you're 10. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Okay. Tell me about putting the utilities in your name.
Well, when I first moved in with them in August.
Just tell me about it.
She has bad credit. She owes just a loan on electricity about $1,000. So she decided, oh, let's put it under my name.
That she decided?
Yes. And I agreed to make it easier on all of us, and I didn't want any fighting or anything, so I just agreed.
Great. And did you pay the utilities?
Yes. When I lived there, we paid utilities. But when me and Chance broke up in January, I was on his cell phone bill, and he was going to shut it off. But we made an agreement that if he keeps me under his cell phone bill, that I would keep the utilities under my name, but they would still pay it, as long as I also kept my
part. So why don't you sue him?
Because he moved out.
So what does that have to do with her?
Because I would call her and Chance both telling them that, okay, I just got an email saying this is the amount that's due on this day. And she would say, okay, I'll pay it. And then I would get an email 5 days later saying your payment is now past due.
On what date did you move out?
January 22nd, 2013.
Okay. Now, you have bills for monies that accumulated after January 22nd.
Yes.
When did you move out?
Right after she did, because I can't know exactly the date.
No. Just give me the date you moved out. That's very easy to find out from your landlord. What date? January, February, March?
I moved out in January.
No.
January 15th, as a matter of fact.
Well, she said she moved out January 22nd.
Okay, well, I was already gone. When they got in their fight, I was already had been moved out.
That's
for
not
moving
true.
out. And I would already, okay, look at, what happened was, okay, the day that they got in that fight, which I'm not sure of the day she moved out, I'd say 3 weeks after that, I moved out because he started moving other people in. And I did not want to be there with all the, you know what I mean? So I got my own place. I have my own place since then. That's where I'm at right now.
Now I don't want you to say anything else.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
You're not living in the same place, I assume.
No.
Do you have any proof that she did not move out when she said she did in January?
I don't have physical proof, but
Any proof? I didn't say physical proof.
he knows. He's my witness. Her stuff was all still there. She was not once moving out.
Just a second. Stand up. Move over there to her, please. Your first name is Chance?
Yes, ma'am.
When Miss Holland left, did you stay with your aunt?
I stayed another month, ma'am, and then...
One more month?
Yes, because she was...
February. Where did you go in February?
Towards the end of February, I moved back down to my mom's for a month.
You moved to your mom?
Just for a month.
Just a second. Up until February, were you living with your aunt?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did she go in February?
She was still at the place, Your Honor, with the house with their utilities.
Then what did you go to your mother's for?
Because I was getting sick and tired of her yelling and just treating me like crap because of my condition I have, Your Honor.
And what condition is that?
My eyes, my retina is deteriorating over time, and there's possibility I could go blind.
So she was yelling at you for that?
That, and because she keeps putting me down, how I'm not going to be able to drive her, I'm just be like the rest of my family and not do anything at all.
Your Honor?
You got to take care of your own business, Miss Holland. Should have turned the utilities off. You have no proof that she was living there. She just didn't turn off your utilities when she left. Now, you all moved into this duplex together. Is that right?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. According to you, if I believe you, you were all supposed to pay rent.
Yes.
You left, he left, leaving her there
Yes,
to
ma'am.
either pay rent or to move out herself.
When I moved out January 22nd, I think I gave him about $200, even after I left, because I was there part of
You mean
January.
she threw you out and you gave her money anyway?
She didn't throw me out. I left.
Did the two of you have a fight?
Yes, the two of us had a fight.
Big fight?
Yes.
Right. Good. I'm not giving you any money. Take care of your own business. If the utilities are in your name and you leave, shut them off. And if you have an agreement with Chance that he'll leave your cell phone on, if you leave the utilities on, sue Chance. She left about the same time that you all did, but you all moved in together.
No,
He
she
can't leave
didn't.
to go to his mom. You can't leave to go to your mom, leaving somebody else responsible for all the bills. Now, why don't you work?
Because I'm in school, and I'm looking for a job. But it's hard having a daughter,
What
too.
school did you go to when you were living with the defendant?
San Joaquin Valley College.
And what school do you go to now?
The same one, just different
And when
campuses.
you moved out and moved back with your who?
My mom.
How far is that away from your school?
It's a 25-minute drive.
How do you get there?
My mom. But I have my license now.
Goodbye.
Or is our excuse may step out.
Hopefully one day he'll realize, you know what I mean? You know, I've been there for you.
We're together now. We're fine. The problem is her.
And now she'll be there fine for another year, who knows, until they get in another fight.
She's always drunk. She's never sober.
Okay, maybe I forgot I've been drunk.
He even threatened my daughter one time when I was out of the house.
No, it's not true. And I love kids, and the threat with the little kid, I don't know what that was about.
Obviously, it's her because even he left.
He was to knock on my door tomorrow. You can come in. But not
Be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Lincoln, this is your son, and it is your claim that while you were quite ill, he took some money out of your account and he damaged your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Your son says that when you went into the hospital, you gave him your debit card or whatever card it was. What did she give you?
She gave me the car keys, the 2 debit cards, and
Debit cards?
Yes, and the PIN number for them.
When did you give him the debit cards?
I didn't give them to him. When I went to the hospital, I was comatose.
When did you give him your PIN number? Because you couldn't take anything out of your listen.
Yes, ma'am.
Couldn't take anything out of your accounts without the PIN number. So when did you give him the PIN number?
I gave him the PIN number. He's had them for years.
And what would he do with them?
Well, when I was in the hospital, he would steal money out of my account.
No, before, years ago.
Oh,
Years ago, when
he'd
you
run
gave him
around
your
the
PIN
corner
number.
to the store, get milk, bread, essentials. When I was honestly too lazy to get up and do it myself.
Okay, so you were in the hospital, he had your debit cards, and he was living with you in the house before you were taken to the hospital, I assume. Is that
Yes.
right? Mr. Webb, before your mother went into the hospital, what kind of work were you doing?
I was working for the state.
Doing what?
IHSS. I was actually getting paid to take care of her. all different things.
No. The state was paying you to take care of your mother.
Yes.
How much?
$200 a month?
Did you have to fill out paperwork for that?
Yes, ma'am.
Who helped you fill out the paperwork?
My mother did.
Okay. What kind of settlement check went into your bank?
It was a settlement for a drug company for damages I incurred from taking their medication.
How much was the settlement?
$6,000. Well, approximately $6,000.
$6,000. On what date did you get the $6,000?
I don't know the exact date. It was in December of 2012.
Show me.
I don't have that here. I only have the bank statements for the time that I was hospitalized.
So what are all those papers that you brought?
These are bank statements for the time that I was hospitalized, face sheets from the hospital showing the dates that I was there and the diagnoses.
I want to see when money went into your account.
Oh, the money, it shows deposits every month.
From what?
My disability, child support.
Disability, child support from whom?
I used to work for the state also, but for the Franchise Tax Board, and I became disabled about 12 years ago.
What child support?
The back child support his father still owes me. He's about $22,000 in the arrears.
I'm 21, ma'am.
So his father is support for him. He's getting money from the state for taking care of you. I'm just trying to figure this all out. What other money do you get?
I get a disability.
How much?
Back then it was $1,066, I believe, and now it's $1,187 a month.
And what was happening with that money? Because your complaint alleges that I saw that my bank accounts, which should have had $2,525 settlement check in it, was down to $40. What I want to see is the $2,525 settlement check when it went into the bank. That's what I want to see. And that wasn't in 2012, madam. You say it was October of 2013.
Right, that's what I'm looking for. There were checks that were placed in.
Don't speak. Just show me what you wrote in your complaint. Okay. While your mother's looking for that, Mr. Webb, you're 21 years old. Where do you reside now, and with whom?
I live with my Uncle Mark. It's about 10 miles from where my mother lives.
When did you move in with your Uncle Mark, and what's his last name?
His last name is McCarley. I moved in with him about January of 2013.
You moved in with him while your mother was in the hospital?
Yes, I had some issues with my grandmother, so I had to leave.
What do you mean you had issues with your grandmother? Was your grandmother also living with your mother?
Yes.
And when you left, how did you get to your uncle's house?
I walked, ma'am.
Where was your mother's car?
It was with this gentleman right here.
Okay. That's in January of 2013.
Yes, ma'am.
You went home in October of 2013.
I went home September.
According to your complaint, my doctor said I could finally go home in October 2013.
Well, I think that was a typo. It was actually September.
It's not typo. Typo is not a different month.
I'm talking about in the statement. I have all of the admission and discharge summaries.
On what date were you discharged?
I was discharged from AVHC on 9/15.
And who did you go home with?
My mother. Well, actually, he picked me up, and then
I picked her up.
I went home, and my mother was there.
In her car.
Don't speak. All of these withdrawals were made after you went home.
Okay, and
that's what you're showing me. All of these withdrawals.
Those are, but these aren't.
I don't care whether these aren't. You said
this is what I'm suing for.
No. Listen to me, madam. On October 28th, 2013, there was a wire deposit made, $2,525 into your account. You were home when this went into your account.
I was home when that went into my account. But that was the last one that I could find.
Well, I don't care. That's what you're suing for.
No, what I'm suing for is the almost 10 months that I was hospitalized.
Sorry, that's not what this complaint says, madam.
But that's what I wrote the complaint as.
It's not. I will show it to you. And what I'm going to show you is you wrote in your... Listen to me. What you wrote in your complaint was that you went home. You said October, so say it's September of 2013.
Okay.
And you saw my bank account, which should have had my settlement check, which is $2,525 in it, was now down to $40.
Right.
But it was not on the date you were discharged from the hospital. You got the money the month after you were discharged from the hospital. That's what this says.
But that's not all the money that I got.
Hey, listen. This is a court.
I understand that.
This is a court. You read and signed the complaint.
The fact is that he's 21 years old. He refuses to get a job.
Listen
to me.
I don't care.
His own
you want to complain
job?
He took almost $10,000 out of my account.
I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. It's irrelevant to me what your story is. This is the complaint that you filed. The complaint that you filed says that you received a settlement check on or about October of 2013, and that he took money from that, leaving you a balance of $40. That's what this complaint says. Do you want to read it again?
Yes, ma'am. Because what I told them was...
I don't care what you told them. I care what you signed.
Okay.
Got it. Now you want to tell me about the car?
The car was left at the house, of course. I was taken by ambulance to the hospital.
Listen. Car.
Okay.
He left to go to stay with his uncle. He had a disagreement with his grandmother. He said he did not take the car.
He did take the car. He not only took the car back
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
You're in the hospital.
Yes.
So you don't know whether he took the car. You don't know whether he took the car. He says somebody else drove the car. Stand up. Your last name?
Murrow.
You went to pick up Miss Lincoln at the hospital?
Yes, I did.
In what vehicle?
I went...
In what vehicle?
My mother's.
What kind of car was that?
Chevy Lumina.
And what kind of car did Miss Lincoln have?
It's a Hyundai Elantra.
Where is it?
It was...
No. Where is it now?
Now?
Look at me. Don't look over there. Where is it now?
They had to junk it because he blew it.
So it's junked.
Yeah.
It's junked. And when did it get junked?
Right after they had me go get it from him because he's been driving it around everywhere.
So you went, listen to me, you went and got it.
Yes.
From whose house?
Sheila's house.
You
Because
went.
she asked me to go grab it to park it at my house because he was running around with it.
So you went.
When it came back
and
from your
listen
house,
to
it was
me.
destroyed.
Hey,
No.
Miss Lincoln said, go get the car and bring it to your house.
Yes.
Is that what you did?
Yes, that's exactly.
Month and year.
It was 2013, and I'm not exactly sure what month it was.
So you drove the car back to your house?
Yes.
And then what did you do with it?
I put the keys inside my room, and I drove my mom's car to go get her when it was time for her to get out.
How much after you picked up the car from the defendant did you go and pick Miss Lincoln up at the hospital? A month, 2 months, 6 months?
Maybe like a month and a half to 2 months.
I can't help you. Miss Lincoln, I can't help you.
What do you mean you can't help me?
Just
He's
exactly what I
21
said.
years old. No,
Just
please
exactly what I
listen.
said.
He
Just
is 21 years old. He
Just
took the
exactly
car.
what I
He
said.
made 8 sets of copies. Every time the keys were taken from him, he made another copy. And he drove the car until it blew up.
No. Miss Lincoln.
No, you don't understand.
No,
I have proof.
No.
I was in a comatose...
Just a second. Just a second.
I was in a comatose state when he was withdrawing money back to back. 3 and 4 trips to the gas station on one day, totaling $200. I mean,
listen to me.
I'm not responsible to feed him. He's grown.
Listen to me.
It's not even
I'm not
possible.
responsible for your ill-drafted complaint.
No, but he illegally took my car and my money. He had no permission.
Listen to me carefully. You have no proof that he, based on what this young man says, you're in the hospital.
He admitted to it. What are you talking about? I have no proof.
Bye,
He
Miss
admitted
Lincoln.
it.
If you're not going to be quiet and listen to me, I'm
I'll
just
listen.
walking out on you.
I'll
Do you
listen.
get it?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Sheila Lincoln says her son, Andrew Webb, stole her money and destroyed her car while she was in the hospital.
Now, you have no proof that he damaged your car. The last I heard from your witness was you told him to go and get the car
Yes.
from him house.
Yes.
Which is exactly what he did. And the car remained at his house after being driven by him at his house. He never got it back.
No, he did not.
That's correct.
Do you want to know why he didn't get it back?
No, I don't. What I'm telling you is you have no proof. Because the last person to drive that car, according to your witness, was him. That's the last person. You have no other witnesses here, right?
No, I don't.
No. So the last person who drove the car...
And when he drove the car, it blew up.
No, that's not what he said. He said he drove the car, he parked in his driveway, and he put the keys in the car.
And the next time I went to go turn it on, it was messed up.
Goodbye.
No, it literally
Goodbye.
blew up. He had no permission
Goodbye.
to take it. He needs
Goodbye.
to take responsibility.
How
he needs
can
to
I
let go
say
of the
that in
bull.
another language?
Adios.
Adios.
I just are excused. You may step out.
He said it wasn't a big deal because
I've done everything I could to help that woman.
he just figured it was going to be his soon anyways.
I would do more to help her if I could.
He just figured I was going to die and leave it all to him.
That's not true, you know.
That's what he said.
I would never say anything like that.
I went in my room and cried.
That's preposterous. I don't even have the words for that.
You know, I'm pretty much done.
I'm hoping that it can be repaired. I mean, that's my mother, you know. I wish the best.
Seat, please.
But who's going to speak for the two of you?
Ron is.
Mr. Berry.
Yes.
All right. It is your claim that Ms. Toga owes additional money for the building of a fence on her property.
Absolutely.
That I'm speaking.
Sorry.
That you two gentlemen built for her. Ms. Toga says that you had an agreement, that she put this job out for bids. You came in with a bid. The fence was, in fact, erected. She paid you what the agreed price was, and she owes you no more money. She does, in fact, say that when she gave you the last check, which was the last part of the agreed price, you ripped up the check and you broke her door. Ms. Toga, look at me. You're claiming that they broke your door.
Yes, I am.
And she has a counter. Do you have a written contract?
A written contract? No.
I have a written contract.
May I see it, please? Well, this is from Jeff Irwin.
Yes, ma'am.
So you were the one who submitted this bid.
Yes.
And the bid was, just a second. This looks as if it was
May I?
changed. Yes.
I created that bid for Jeff.
I don't care what you did. Listen to me. He submitted this bid.
Yes, ma'am.
1 40-foot fence, 2 1 40-foot fence with redwood, 1 30-foot fence with door-geared, 1 30-foot fence. What did you ultimately decide to have?
A 40-foot fence with redwood.
40-foot with redwood was $1,502.40.
Correct.
And these prices are based on 30 versus 40-foot fence, actual length of fence not yet known. So what was the length of the fence?
42 feet.
So it was 2 feet more than what
Yes, ma'am.
this was. And how much did the defendant pay you?
$1,450.
Well, this says she was supposed to pay $1,502.40 for 40-foot fence. What?
I paid an additional $450, but that's a check that he tore up at my house.
Incorrect.
Now, just a minute. The whole job was supposed to be $1,500. That's what your bid was.
Mm-hmm.
You're suing for $2,786.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
May I explain?
Well, I know what you said. You said it took more time to do it. Did you do anything other than put in a 40-foot fence?
Constructed it twice on 2 separate properties, which she had created a fraudulent article. She authored a document saying that the fence was to be built on the neighbor's property, but she authored it. This is fraud. We had built that fence twice on 2 separate properties.
That's what you say. So you got there and she told you where she wanted the fence built. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. I have a letter from the landlord next door agreeing to the erection of the fence.
Listen to me. I'm beginning to get it. Did you tell them where you wanted the fence erected when they arrived?
Yes.
And was that on your neighbor's property?
Yes.
And they did that under your direction?
Under my direction and approval
I
of the
don't
neighbor.
care. They had no contract with anybody other than you. They put it where you told them to put it.
Yes, but they put it incorrectly.
Then you would have told them to leave.
We did.
Did you tell them to leave, or did you let them put it in someplace else?
We told them to stop constructing the fence until we arrived back on the property and we could get together with them, the neighbor, and we all had an agreement.
Listen, what I'm gathering from you, I'm getting a little passive aggressiveness here, Ms. Toga, so I'm beginning to get a little more sympathetic with these guys. If they made an arrangement with you to build a fence, a 40-foot fence, and they got there and you told them to put it over there, that's on my neighbor's property, but the landlord over there said it was okay to put it on the property, and they started to erect the fence. Is that what you did? And then later, how much later? An hour later, a day later?
Day later.
A day later, after they had worked for a day to put up the fence, you said, "Nuh-uh, sorry, can't put up the fence there. We have to move the fence and put it back on my property." Is that what happened?
More. Not only did she want us on the neighbor's property, she instructed us that the hotel next door, the Via, a billionaire's hotel, that we remove all of the flowers, all of the landscaping, and the debris, as she called it, as a slumlord from a drug dealer cartel. She said they were drug dealers and smarmy people.
No, listen to me. You better just relax, because there's only one person here that gets hyper, and that's me. Simple is what you're telling me, that at her direction, you put a fence in one place, and then you had to take out the fence and put it on her property.
Yes.
Is that what you're telling
Yes.
me? Now, let's keep this simple. Really simple. You instructed them to put it in one place. They worked for a day putting it in one place.
2 days.
Well, I thought you said you came back the next day.
4 days total.
So did it take you 1 or 2 days to put up the first fence?
2 days. 1 full day for debris removal, 1 day to erect the fence, stolen materials. Sorry.
Run. Sorry.
Did you tell them to remove the fence that they had initially started to erect and put it someplace else?
Yes.
Then you changed the contract. You changed the arrangement. And you have to pay for that. You have to pay for that. Since when do you think you don't have to pay if you change a contract, and as a result of your changing the contract, they have to work more? Since when do you think that people work for you for free? That's outrageous.
Well, I'd like to interject a few things here.
I want you to answer my question. They came out at your direction. They worked a day and a half to put up a fence. Then you had a kerfuffle with your next-door neighbor, whose permission you thought you had in order to put up the fence on that property. Turns out you didn't.
Have writing.
I don't care about that. That has nothing to do with them. You go sue the other people if you think that you have a cause of action, but they get paid from you, not from them. They get paid from you. And whatever reason you think that you have, I'm telling you, you are wrong. And to try to get away with giving them the original bid when they worked twice as many days to erect the fence because of your fault.
They worked twice as many days because they disappeared when they came to the job site for 5 hours at a time.
Listen to me. I don't believe a word you're saying to me. I think you're a hustler. I think that you got caught with your finger in the cookie jar, that you thought you had permission of your neighbor to put up a fence. Turns out that the neighbor said, change my mind. But they had already done work on the property. You told them to take down the fence, put it on your property. They did that, and you expect them to work the extra time for nothing. And I'm telling you that you can't do that.
I'd like to say one more thing.
One more thing.
Mr. Irwin portrayed himself as a licensed contractor.
Do you? Listen
to me.
He is
not.
Hey, who cares? Who cares? You got the fence. You just want the fence for half the cost. And you're outrageous. Outrageous, madam. So you wrote them a check for $400. They ripped it up, as I would, threw it on the ground because they said, it's not what you owe us. And since I don't trust you, because you knew, you're a smart lady, you knew that you could have said, listen, I got to pay this guy more because I thought I had your permission. I'm going to bring you into this lawsuit because they're suing me for money. I'm going to bring you into it. What?
The original bid was for $1,500. Whether it took 2 days or 5 days or 2 weeks.
Is there something wrong with you? That's such a stupid answer. I can't believe that is emanating from a reasonably intelligent woman's mouth.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, Jeffrey Irwin and Ron Berry claim Debbie Toga owes for a fence they built on her property. Debbie is countersuing, claiming the plaintiffs broke her front door.
You had them do twice the work. It was like building 2 fences. It's like building 2 40-foot fences, putting in 2 40-foot fences. And you say, well, this was their bid, and therefore if they put up 40 feet of fence or 80 feet of fence or 120 feet of fence, and if they work there 1 day or 4 days or 6 days to do it, that's not my problem. And because I think that you are so disingenuous, I'm dismissing your counterclaim. Fix the glass on your door yourself. Judge for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,700. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It doesn't say anything about a contractor's license on my website.
Well, they portray themselves as a contractor.
And I tell them when I get there, I am not licensed.
They disappeared for hours at a time. They would go off to Home Depot and...
This woman is a liar, a manipulator, and a fraud.
...need more products or go to lunch, and they would come back 4 to 5 hours later.
She's a profound sociopath.
But quite honestly, I'm glad to have these people out of my life.
And I really love the judge knew she was a liar and a smarmster from Square.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ruggiero versus Deloria, step forward.
Crystal Ruggiero is suing her ex-fiancé, 24-year-old Christopher Deloria, for a loan to buy a car due to an assault.
All right, we have one of these laundry list of cases that I so despise, but every once in a while I have to deal with them. Miss Ruggiero, this is your former boyfriend. You say he owes you a lot of money for a lot of things. He owes you money for a car that you bought for him 2 years ago that nobody has anymore. Is that right?
That is right.
That he owes you for an assault that happened 6 months ago. That when the two of you separated, he took a PlayStation. PlayStations were for children.
A lot of adults on them.
PlayStation, and what else did you say he took from you? And a TV. He says the car was a gift. You really used that term inartfully. That's really not what you thought. And that the TV and PlayStation belonged to you, and there was never an assault. Right?
Correct.
Okay, so let's start with the car. We've got the idea that there was a time when the two of you really liked each other, you lived together, you were an item, there was only one car. You laid out the money and purchased a car that was in your name. Let's call that Car A. Car A is the money that you allege that you loaned to him for a car, but when it was purchased, it was put in your name. Subsequently, the two of you moved, and that car, Car A, was sold, and Car B was purchased. You were still a couple then, correct?
Yes.
And Car B was put in your name.
Correct.
Did you invest any money in Car B?
Yes.
How much money did you invest in Car B?
$400 towards the down payment, and then I've been making payments of $250 since November.
Right. So your car isn't here anymore.
Car A is no longer here anymore.
Correct.
However, it was used as a trade-in and put
That's correct.
down.
He's not paying you back for it. You were a couple. Judges don't untangle, live in almost marrieds, because we have better things to do. You wanted him to repay that loan. You should have come much faster to court, not when it was all broken up and all unraveled. So I don't care about Car A and B. He used it as a down payment. He's been paying it off. Car B. Car A is somewhere in Carfax heaven. Now, let's get to the assault that happened 6 months ago. What brings you to court now?
Well, I am asking for the money incurred for the medical bills and for the pain and suffering.
Okay. You want to tell me when this assault happened?
The assault happened on October 26, 2013. On October 26th, I told him that I was breaking up with him and that I would rather be single than live with how he was treating me, and that the reason I was breaking up with him was because of the assault.
Okay. Tell me about the assault.
That day, it was October 26th. We were arguing all day. It was very heated. It was about the car. It was about payments. It was about money. It was about laundry, just things that had been built up. That day, he pushed me and shoved me and punched me in the chest and shoved me onto the bed. I kicked him and I left out to the garage.
Kicked him where?
In the groin area. And I ran out to my car. I got in my car, and as I was leaving, he jumped in my car and was yelling at me. He grabbed me by the face, and he was yelling directly in my face, screaming like a madman. He finally got out of the car. I left. That's when I texted him that I'm done being treated like that, and to pack his stuff. And
Okay, is that the assault?
Yes.
Okay, go.
That's not how it happened at all.
I'd like to hear your version.
We did get into an argument that morning, and it was over stupid stuff like laundry and things like that. I had gone to my parents' house to help them with some things. I was late getting back to the apartment. We were going to a party for her friend. She gave me all kinds of attitude that I was late and we were going to miss the surprise for the birthday party. Car together, we were leaving. She was still giving me a hard time about being late for helping my parents out. I did yell at her. She pulled over, turned around, dropped me off. I went back into the house, and then she did later on send me a text message saying that we were done to pack my stuff and get out.
So she stopped, dropped you off. I'd like to see a police report.
I didn't file a police report, Your Honor.
Did he injure you?
He did rupture my eardrum. I did not go to urgent care until January 2nd, which I have urgent care.
Not interested in your, from October 26th to January 2nd, that he ruptured your eardrum from screaming at you. Now, PlayStation.
The PlayStation, the TV, I have receipts of purchase. I purchased those items.
Just a second. When were they purchased?
The TV was purchased on 7/12.
Were you living together in July?
Yes, we were living together in my house that I purchased.
That's okay. So the TV was purchased by you, 7/12. Just for my own information, did you have any joint bank account, or did you each have your own bank account?
No joint bank accounts. We each had a separate one.
Did you each have your own credit cards?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Got it. And what about the PlayStation?
The PlayStation, the Nintendo DS, and the PlayStation Elite were all purchased by me on 7/9, Your Honor.
So around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Were they gifts to you?
There were replacements. Our house was burglarized. Those were all things that I had before we got.
Just a second. Was your house burglarized?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And were those things taken from the house during the course of the burglary?
Yes.
Did you have insurance?
Yes, I did.
Did insurance send you a check?
Yes, there was a $1,000 deductible.
I don't care. So the two things that were taken during the course of the burglary, among other things, I assume, were the TV and PlayStation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Are we done here? We have money loaned for a vehicle, gone. Value of property plus money owed for medical bills, gone. And then we have the PlayStation and the TV, which I also tell you are gone. Goodbye. Your case is dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Please excuse me, step out.
He definitely owes that money, whether or not there was an agreement.
I'm very happy with how it turned out. I mean, she definitely agreed with me that this was all just very frivolous.
I really don't care anything about them. I would just want my money back.
After we had split up, we were going to try to remain friends. As soon as she found out I had a new girlfriend, that's when everything just went into a tailspin.
There's no truth to that whatsoever. I'm the one that broke up with him. I left him.
She loves drama. Always did, probably always will.
I'm not going to loan any more money.
I wish her the best in her new life. I'm just glad it's not in my life.
Be seated.
How old are you, Mr. Waite?
I'm 20.
And you?
19.
And you?
19.
What do you do to keep yourself occupied?
I work at a company called...
Doing what?
And I'm in the finance department. I'm considered finance support.
And what do you do?
I just graduated dental assisting school, and I'm now a dental assistant.
Do you work?
Yes.
For whom?
Oh, it's an externship.
Do you get paid?
Not yet, but once I finish
Just a
extern.
second. So you don't get paid?
No.
Right from high school to dental assistant school?
No. I went to Yuba College for a second, and then I moved to LA.
For a second?
For a little bit.
Who supports you?
I got financial aid.
Who got financial aid?
I did.
How much?
$2,500.
And did you use that for the couple of seconds that you stayed in school?
Yes.
Did you pay back the $2,500?
No, it went towards school and books.
But you didn't stay in school?
No, I did not. I finished that one semester and then I left.
That's not a second. You finished the semester?
Yes.
And you, Mr. Ramirez?
I work at Round Table Pizza and I'm a delivery driver.
All right. So the three of you idiots knew each other from high school. That a fair statement?
Yeah.
And you all decided that it would be really neat to get a one-bedroom apartment together. And at the time, were you a couple?
Yes.
No. That's what I gathered from reading these papers. You rented this one-bedroom apartment, and all three of you were on the lease. You had the bedroom.
Yes.
And the two of you were on the couch in the living room.
On a bed.
Or a bed, whatever it was. You had a bed, or you were in the living room. That's one bathroom, and the bathroom is attached to the bedroom. According to you, Miss Umbra, within a couple of weeks of being there, you found out that Mr. Waite was trying to hook up your boyfriend with other girls.
Yes.
And you got angry and moved out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in what month and year?
August.
August of 2013. And you had a one-year lease.
Yes.
And she moved out right away, leaving the two of you there.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
And then sometime later, you moved out.
Yes, Your Honor.
What month?
I moved out in December of 2013.
And Mr. Ramirez says he moved out because you brought in your...
His lab, his dog. And his girlfriend was staying at the apartment.
Well, what was more annoying, the Labrador or the girlfriend?
The dog, for sure. The dog would...
The dog and the girlfriend?
Yeah, the dog and the girlfriend.
So he moved out. And now you want them, because you only have a one-bedroom apartment, so you can't bring in another roommate, you say, because it's just one-bedroom apartment. You want them to pay the rent for the year.
For the remainder of the term.
What happened, Mr. Waite, in August when Brianna moved out?
Well, it was actually in July. She left July 10th.
She left earlier, in July.
Yes, but she
So
paid.
she left in July.
Yes.
What happened in July when she moved out?
Me and Daniel decided to up our rent payments by $200 to cover hers.
Daniel and I.
Yes.
So you and Daniel decided to live in the apartment alone.
Yes, Your Honor.
So what does she have to do with that decision?
Uh,
You and Mr. Ramirez decided that you would live there together, alone.
Yes, Your Honor.
You stayed in the bedroom,
Yes.
and you had the living room.
Yes, Your Honor.
When did your girlfriend start to come over?
She was only there on the weekends, on Friday.
Okay.
Maybe she'd come
She-
over every now and then. She did not live there.
When did she start to come over now and then on the weekends?
Well, we started back in June. She would, I have an apartment, I invited her over. I was paying the rent, so why does it matter if she's there? She's not on the lease.
She's not on the lease.
No.
How many days a week, Mr. Ramirez, Because right now, Brianna, you're out of it. He has no case against you. These two guys decided that once you left, they weren't going to look for somebody else. They weren't going to look for another guy. The two of them wanted to stay together.
Your Honor.
What?
Actually, when Bree moved out, I actually posted an ad on Craigslist to see if somebody would want to move in.
Great. That's wonderful. Case is dismissed against you. You can sit down. Now it's just you. So now we're going to get to him because he's the only one I'm interested in. He moved out in December
8th.
2013. Tell me the discussion that you had with Mr. Waite before you moved out.
Before I moved out, probably about a month and a half, I was thinking about moving away because his girlfriend was coming over all the time. He recently, sometime in November, he got a lab. He would close and lock the door to his bedroom where the bathroom was, so it's kind of hard to go in and out of the room when the door was closed or locked. When I moved in, I thought it was going to be an open house, like open door type of policy, since there was only one bedroom and one bathroom, and I was staying in the living room. And then sometime in November, he also brought in a couch. So when he brought in the couch, it was right next to my bed, kind of making it feel like it was a living room instead of my own bedroom.
Did you tell that to him?
No.
Why not?
Well, like when the couch was right next to my bed, it was just taking up space. I didn't.
No, I mean, did you tell him what your concerns were, Mr. Ramirez?
About the dog, yes.
What about the girlfriend?
Just a little, no, not.
Well, what did he say to you when you told him that you were thinking about moving out?
I told him.
No, look at me.
All right.
You said, I'm thinking about moving out.
I said, I'm thinking about moving out, and he said, yes, I totally understand where you're coming from. You don't really know anybody. You moved here with Bree, that's why you kind of moved. And when I had nobody left besides Jesse, he said he kind of understood. And I told him that I would keep paying rent, and he said, no, if you're not staying here, if you're not living here, then I'm not going to make you pay rent. And so I said, yeah, okay, that's fine. So in December, I paid the rest all the way through December when I left December 7th.
So you paid December's rent?
Yeah, $600 all the way through December.
Okay. Now, when did you hear from Mr. Waite again?
I actually didn't hear from Mr. Waite. Brianna, right, my co-defendant, she sent me a text saying, oh, did you get the email from Jesse? And I didn't.
What email?
An email saying he wants to figure everything out with us leaving the term early.
Oh, well, she's not involved in it. In what month did you receive that?
February.
Okay, did you call Mr. Waite? I mean, he's your friend.
No, I didn't call Mr. Waite.
Why not?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Whole thing sounds really
when he said
funny
that, when
to
he
me.
said I could leave the lease, and if I wasn't living there, I wouldn't have to pay, I thought that was kind of the end of it.
Okay. Do you remember that conversation, Mr. Waite?
No, I don't. I never said that he could leave and
Uncross
just
your
not pay.
hands.
Oh, sorry.
Well, what did you say to him when he said he was thinking of leaving?
I did say I understood because he did.
What do you mean you say I understood?
He
What did
understood
you
where
understand?
he was coming from.
What did you understand?
He didn't know anybody, and it was hard, and I could see he was depressed. So I said, you know what, I'm not going to make you stay here. You know, you could go home and see your family, but you guys are killing me on the rent.
Not guys. She's out of it. She's
Okay.
gone for a long time.
Okay.
So you said, I understand. And
Yes. And I ended up filing in February against them.
Why?
Because it's a $1,440 payment a month, and it's hard to pay by myself.
You're absolutely right. Where's your girlfriend?
My girlfriend, I asked.
Is what? Is not an answer, Mr. Waite. Is a girlfriend.
Okay.
And you know, where does she work?
She works at a daycare, and she lives at home.
She works at a daycare where?
In Foothill Ranch.
And how far is that from where you live?
I live in Irvine, California, so about 15 minutes.
And does she work full time?
No, she goes to school part-time.
What school?
Santiago Canyon Community.
Okay. Now, you have an apartment manager?
Yes.
What's the apartment manager's name?
Nick.
If I were to call Nick and ask him about your girlfriend whose name is?
Desiree.
How often would he say that he sees Desiree?
Not often.
Not often. I don't believe that, Mr. Waite.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. C. Waite says ex-roommates Brianna Zumbrum and Daniel Ramirez broke their apartment lease. The defendants are countersuing for the return of property, property damage, and the return of their pet deposit.
Now, you left and paid through December.
Yes, I did.
Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And when does your lease terminate?
August 2014.
With regard to you, Mr. Ramirez, there are 8 months from the time that you left the apartment
Yes.
to the termination of the lease.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to hold you responsible for 4 of those months for your share of the rent. And the rest of the lease you're going to cover, sir, unless you can find a roommate. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Or let Desiree pay for half the rent. Because when you say to him, I totally understand that you're unhappy and that you're depressed, he assumes that it's okay for him to move out. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Your Honor?
What?
I actually want to countersue for the amount of $2,000.
I'm not giving you a countersuit, sir.
Okay.
You want your pet deposit back. Who paid the pet deposit?
Me and Brianna.
You. I don't care about Brianna.
I paid the pet deposit.
No, you just told me the two of you did. Whose money was it?
All three of ours.
How much was the pet deposit?
$750, $250 each.
Okay. I'll give you credit for that pet deposit that you put in, not her piece, just your piece. How much was your rent, sir?
It was $600 a month.
Well, 6 months rent times 8 months is $4,800. Less $250 is $4,540. That would be your share of the rent for 8 months, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
4 months is $3,200 less $250. Is that right?
Minus 250?
Yes.
2150.
$21.50, Bird, you're a doll. Thank you very much. I should know better than to try to do this without my trusty computer. Okay, you have the following choices. You can either put an ad in the paper to get a roommate and give them the bedroom, right?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
That's easy. Then there's just the two of you. You sleep on the sofa, you have a roommate, the roommate gets the bedroom and bath, and you're practically whole. He's going to pay you for 4 months because I think that that's reasonable. He should give you some notice.
I don't agree with that, Your Honor.
I don't care whether you agree with it or not. Any other unfinished business?
I would like to throw out there, I did leave a bed. In
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $21.50.
Funds are excused. You may step out.
I actually saw on his phone messages between them trying to find another guy to completely move.
She was leaving already. She packed up and left.
She already decided that she was going to completely leave. At that point, I was like, I don't really know anybody. I need to kind of meet some friends.
I wish this would have never happened.
I wish we would have talked about it and worked it out.
They were my best friends.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Babashoff versus Scherer. Step forward.
21-year-old Grace Babashoff is suing fellow motorist, 21-year-old Maxwell Scherer, for hitting her car at a red light.
Okay, this was a car accident. It's not a car on purpose. It's called a car accident. And each of you claim that the accident was the fault of the other. So, Ms. Babashoff, when did this accident happen?
It happened the morning of March 21st.
2014?
Yes.
And it happened there, wherever there is.
It happened on the... Okay.
Go over there. And the P is you.
Yes.
You were going to make a left-hand turn.
Mm-hmm.
So you were coming from, point with your finger, coming from there.
Yeah.
And you had the right of way because the light, according to you, was green for you. And you were going to make a left turn.
Mm-hmm.
And point where the defendant was coming from.
He was coming from this way.
Now, if you had a green light, that meant he had a red light.
Exactly.
And as you were coming through the intersection, there was an impact.
Mm-hmm.
That's your story.
Yes.
And you were okay, he was okay. Bumper got damaged, you had no insurance.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Driving around without insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now you can step back.
What happened was I was dropping my girlfriend off coming through here, dropped her off at the cafe, and I drove around to Jeffrey's. I took a left onto the boulevard into the center lane. I waited for a Jeep to pass, got into the right-hand lane. Right around here, I noticed this light was still green, and as soon as I got to the intersection, I noticed she was just sitting in the middle of the intersection, but it was too late for me to stop.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. So you said you had a green light.
Yes.
You had a green light and no insurance.
Yes, I did not have insurance.
Why? Make sure I find out the right reason why. Why are you driving around without insurance?
I recently broke my collarbone prior, and my bills were mixed up, and I couldn't afford it.
So then you don't drive.
I realized it expired just a day or two prior.
That's what everybody tells me. It just expired. I didn't get my mail. They didn't send me a notice, whatever it is. You have insurance now?
No, but I'm not driving my car right now.
I don't believe that for a second.
It's not running at all. It's just sitting in my driveway.
I don't believe that at all. Now, other than the two of you, are there any other witnesses to this car accident? Passengers in the car? Where were you?
Oh, was it the gas station right there?
I was at the cafe at the bottom left corner.
Great. Now, you were at the gas station. Do you know the plaintiff? Had you ever seen her before?
Never.
Great. Could you stand up, please? Tell me your name.
My name's Jason May.
You were there on the 21st of March?
Yes, every morning.
What were you doing?
Every morning I go there and I get gas and coffee.
Okay. Show me exactly where you were in the gas station, Mr. Mason.
Well, there's a big window right here on the side, and I was talking to the clerk, and we happened to look right out of the window, and I seen a gentleman here smash into the side of her car. No screeching, no trying to stop.
Could you tell who had a green light and who had a red light?
Yeah, she had the right of way.
How do you know that?
I could see the light from the window here.
Mm-hmm.
And also, there was another car stopped right here.
So there was a car stopped at the light.
Yeah, and he went right past it, smashed the car. Me and Russell came out to make sure that he pulled over, and he pulled over, so then I went to work.
Well, how did she get your name?
She came to the shop that I work at.
Which shop?
It's Conklin Hot Rods, our body shop.
How did she know that you worked there?
She didn't. She didn't know
Happened
that.
to be a
I didn't talk to her
coincidence.
at the accident.
Okay. Stand over there. What's your boss's name?
Jim Conklin.
That would be you?
Yes.
How do you know the plaintiff?
They showed up at my shop for an estimate.
How else do you know the plaintiff?
She
Stand up.
She works with my girlfriend.
That's right.
Small town.
I understand it's a small town. It's also a small world.
I hadn't met her before the accident. I met her when they were at my shop waiting for me to open.
Now, when you had this accident, how did you get to his shop?
There's only 2 auto shops in Big Bear. His was the closest to the accident, so I drove over there.
Well, that's reasonable. That's a reasonable explanation. And you didn't find out the relationship until later?
Yes.
And coincidentally, you not only worked there, but witnessed the accident?
Yes.
Great.
Yep.
You can sit down. Tell me your last name.
Gonzalez?
Did you know the defendant from before?
Oh, no, I've never met her.
He's the defendant.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I know him. We live together. This is my boyfriend.
Oh, well, show me where you were.
I work at the Grizzly Manor Cafe, which is right here. Maxwell, 5 days out of the week, drives me to work.
He dropped you off at work, and then he came around. How could you see what was going on down the street?
He dropped me off in the front. I walk inside. I had left something in the car that I needed to get from him before he left. So I went out to try to get a hold of him, and if the light was, I really recognize it being green.
Let
because
me explain something to you. I don't believe a word you're saying. Sit down. Not a word.
Okay.
It's an accident. And it wouldn't have been a problem if you had insurance. Do you understand?
Yes.
If you'd had insurance, what you would have been able to do is call the police. And the police would have come and taken a report, and they would have taken down the information, and they would have taken a statement, maybe from him if he was actually there, and maybe from her if they could find her at the corner where you dropped her off, maybe, right? But because you didn't have insurance, the police weren't called to do an accident report, because she was probably a nice person. She did ask you for your insurance, didn't she?
Yes.
And you didn't have it, so that's why you agreed to follow her to the body shop, correct?
I agreed because I was nervous. I've never been in an accident
you're very
before.
nervous. I'm going to tell you what you should be nervous about. You should be nervous about having her as a girlfriend. I wouldn't be worried about whether or not I went through a red light. But somebody who's got a sharp girlfriend like that is not a dope, because I don't think that she would be involved with a dope, right? So you followed her because you didn't have insurance. And you said, let's go and see how much it costs to have the bumper fixed. That's what happened. Now, how much was the bumper?
$2,840.64.
Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I was trying to be a nice person, you know.
I clearly saw green
I mean, I've been in a fender bender, no insurance.
and drove through the light,
I figured as long as he fixes it, it's fine.
and she was sitting in the intersection.
Once he heard the price, he didn't want to pay for it.
She was high.
I think it's funny because he was actually high when he hit me.
It's just an accident.
It's just an accident. I'm glad it's fixed. Justice was served.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of King versus Weesey. Step forward.
Desiree King is suing her neighbor, Robert Weesey, for a fire that burned down trees on her property.
Ms. King, you and the defendant have property that abuts each other. Is that correct?
Correct.
How large is your property?
2.5 acres.
And yours, sir?
Same.
It is your claim that the defendant had a fire on his property.
That is correct.
And as a result of that fire, that 6 of the trees that are on your property were damaged by the fire. You want the replacement costs for those 6 trees.
Correct.
The defendant says it's not his fault. When did this fire start?
It started on May 13th.
How did it start, Mr. Weesey?
I don't know. That's the problem.
But there was a fire on your property.
Not that day. 2 days prior there was.
Okay. So on May 13th.
Correct.
Tell me about the fire on the 13th.
We typically burn trash, and that's what it was a fire pit with trash.
Who was at home when that fire was set?
Myself and my wife.
And what kind of trash were you burning?
Just regular garbage from papers, whatever you open up from a grocery store is basically what it was.
And how close to the plaintiff's property was this fire?
I would have to say 500-600 feet away, probably.
And?
We just had the fire, and the fire went out. Well, trash burns down and comes into trash, and we put sand over the top of it, and then it's done for, there's no more trash to be burned.
And?
That was it.
Well, did you see the fire reach Miss King's property?
No, I didn't.
However, there's a however there, Mr. Weezy.
Sorry. However, 2 days later, I left. I went down to the grocery store, came back. I was in front of my house, and all I heard was crackling and stuff, and I couldn't figure out what happened. So I went back, and I saw the smoke and the fire. So I went back.
Okay, so this is 2 days later.
2 days later.
So now we're on the 15th.
Exactly.
Okay, so on the 15th, you heard something. You went in the back. There was evidence of fire.
Exactly.
Where?
It started down by the pine trees, and it was halfway between where my fire pit was and where her property is. That's how far it was when I saw it. I ran and grabbed water. I had hoses back there that reach all the way down to both of our properties because I was taking care of the trees and watering them and stuff like that. So I just opened up the faucet, ran down there with water and tried to put it out, and I had a rake and stuff, and that wasn't working. So I ran back up and called 911 for help to put it out because it was I couldn't control it.
And you have no idea how that fire started?
No, I don't.
You have any idea how that fire started?
Well, I do because he had an active fire burning in the pit that morning. My witness was there to view it.
Oh, well, I'd like to hear the witness. You mean the morning of the 15th?
Correct.
Tell me your name.
Laurie Fossen.
Are you a neighbor?
No. I was with the property owners of lot number 4, which is on the other side of Miss King's property. We were traveling up to northern Wisconsin to look at some other land they had, and we swung through so they could show me this property where they're thinking of building. While we were there, we smelled smoke and something kind of plasticky. So we walked across Miss King's property over to the next lot, which is where the house was. We walked up to the door. The interior door was open and the TV was on. So we knocked on the outside door and we yelled, hello.
Not we, you. Just tell me what you did.
Okay. Knocked on the door, yelled hello through the door. There was no response, so did it again. And again, no response. So I walked around to the back of the house to see if anyone was back there, and I saw a fire pit dug into the ground, and in it was a small fire with smoke coming out of it and this plasticky smell.
And that was on the 15th?
That was on the 15th
So
of
you
May.
saw evidence of fire in the pit on the 15th?
Correct, and it was around 11 o'clock in the morning. So we proceeded to leave, the property owners and I, and went into the nearest little town of Amory, where we went to the fire department, where we reported what we saw and our concerns. They told us that it was not their jurisdiction. They gave a phone number to the property owner, who then made a call and left a voicemail stating what we saw, an active fire, our concerns, and we then proceeded to leave and never got a call back onto his phone.
And that was on May 15th?
That was on May 15th of 2013.
Okay. So, Mr. Weezy, this lady, who I absolutely believe, says that there was an active fire in your fire pit on the 15th.
I can't say whether it was a garbage fire there and you put it out. Is that an active fire? No, I didn't go there. I didn't put anything on to make a fire.
She says that there was she says that there was an active fire, and the active fire, the smoke, which at least directed her little group to the fire department.
Okay.
That's how concerned they were. So her eyes weren't deceiving her, sir. She saw the fire in your fire pit.
Right.
Well, who else lives there besides you and your wife?
Oh, I have children there, but they
How old are your children?
I have a 15-year-old, 16-year-old.
I'd like to see the trees.
I have pictures of the trees from June of 2013 and then May 15th of 2014, one year to the date. And there is a fire report as well from the fire department and a burning ban that was in place in the county that day as well.
There wasn't a fire burning. I talked to the chief that was there on the fire, and there wasn't a ban put on that. 2 days prior to that, I talked to the fire chief at our church.
That's actually, sir, don't tell me what the fire chief told you. I see trees that are burned. That's your responsibility.
And these are
trees that were clearly trees that were planted. They're in a line. Who's
They're
supposed
very
to fix
slow
that?
growing trees, so I won't see those trees again in my lifetime. They will
Well,
not grow
the
back.
trees aren't dead, and we've offered solutions to Miss King, and she refused them. We were going to trim the trees up, and then we were going to put a couple more trees in their path. She wanted them as a wind block. If you cut down live trees and they're 80 foot tall, then you don't have a wind block. So if you keep them there, which those trees are alive.
Do you have an estimate, please, for the trees that need replacing? Mr. Weesey, I mean, I don't think that you did anything purposely. It got out of hand. $4,177. Is that your estimate?
That is for the removal and the stump grinding, and then there is an estimate for the $779 for replacement with small trees. That doesn't include installation, so that's a minimum estimate for replacement.
Are you going to do it?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
How does that excuse when they step out?
She wanted money for removal of the trees that are alive, and they're not dead.
I feel like justice was served.
We've offered several solutions to her, money-wise and stuff like that, and she's refused it.
He offered to cut my trees down for me.
I would come to a reasonable solution and be done with it.
Well, he just felt that he did not have any responsibility, and that did not sit well with me, obviously.
Seated.
Ms. Hakimi, you and your husband were planning a wedding before you were a married couple, and you decided to get married on what date?
July 6th of 2013.
And in preparation for that wedding, you hired the defendant to be your DJ.
And actually, I was providing more services too.
Who's going to provide the entertainment
Yes.
for your wedding? And you gave a $100 deposit. The entire fee was how much?
$900, Your Honor.
Was that your whole fee, $900? No. What was your fee?
$1,800.
Did you have a written contract?
They didn't sign the contract. We have a verbal contract.
I have a copy.
I'd like to see the contract.
I have that copy too. Here you go.
Well, I'll take a look at yours. I'll take a look at theirs. In any event, Ms. Hakimi, what your lawsuit wants is the return of your $600 because you canceled the wedding and the defendant didn't return your deposit. That's what the case is about. The defendant says, well, he was probably willing to forget the whole thing, but he kept your $600, even though he says your agreed fee was more than that. And he's counterclaiming for the remainder of the fee. He said because you canceled, and this was over a July 4th weekend when he could have made his usual fee, and you canceled 5 days before the wedding. Is that correct that you canceled 5 days before the wedding?
Your Honor, we canceled approximately 5 days. I can't say for
That's
sure
what I'm
because I was in the hospital.
Just a second. You canceled the wedding
Yes,
5
ma'am.
days before.
We postponed it, Your Honor, not canceled.
Or postponed it. You ultimately got married. Is that right?
We are married, but which is ceremony going to be this year, July 5th.
Are you married?
Yes, we are married.
Who married you and when?
In San Diego County on...
May 21st, we got married in the court.
May 21st of 2014?
No.
2013.
2013.
May I
Just
explain?
a second.
Okay.
So you got married before the party was planned. So you were married in a civil ceremony, and this July 6th event was just the reception for the wedding. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, Your Honor. We're Persian, so basically we had the civil ceremony because when we have a Persian wedding, we have our own ceremony, but it's not recognized. So we
I
have
understand.
To,
But so this was your civil ceremony. You were legally married in May, and this was a reception / traditional wedding 2 months later.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes,
okay. And what date did you receive a call that the wedding was canceled?
On July 1st.
So 6 days before. Now, what was the message that you got?
They canceled. They said they miscarried a child.
Okay. So you had a miscarriage.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's the reason that the reception was canceled. Okay.
Your Honor, the proper term is actually we had a live birth, actually. So it wasn't just a simple miscarriage.
It was preterm labor, Your Honor. It was 5 months into the pregnancy.
Baby finished in my arms, ma'am. So, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the
Shh. Now, the fee was $900.
Yes, but can I speak?
Yeah.
Okay. I emailed the contract for the basic DJ
Now,
package.
listen to me. You said your fee was $1,800.
Yes.
It says you prepared this agreement.
This was the beginning, and later on they add more services.
I don't care whether they added more services. This is the written contract. Do you have any other written agreement?
It's a written contract, but they didn't sign it.
No,
and
you
they didn't-
signed it. You signed. Listen to me. Careful. You signed it.
Okay.
So this is your intention.
Okay.
Now, Do you have another contract that you sent to them for $1,800?
Verbally?
No, not verbal.
Written,
you can't.
no.
Then
Written.
you have nothing. And this is what your agreement was, $900.
They texted me and they had more services.
I don't care.
They
Just a second. I don't care. Contract. Same day. You may want more services, but contract. That's what you had. You signed this. If you want to alter it, you have to alter it in the same frame, which is in a writing, since you prepared it. They didn't sign it. I don't know why you didn't sign the contract. Is there any reason why you didn't sign the contract?
We sent him his money.
Sign the contract.
Because we were in the middle of the preparation of the wedding, ma'am, and the wedding was on July 5th.
Listen to me. You know, you can double talk me. Don't double talk me. Somebody sends you a contract, you see the contract, you're supposed to sign it and send it back to him. That's what he expected. Okay. Now, Mr. Koshigian, you didn't sue them for the remainder of your fee, correct?
Yes.
Because you said, you know what? I'm just going to let it go. Is that what you said?
Okay.
And you were right. They had an emergency. There was a reason they couldn't go forward with their ceremony/reception. There was a valid reason for it. So you said, as a good guy, I'm not going to sue them for what I perceive to be the balance, whether it's another $300 or another $900. You understand that, having planned and made a lot of weddings, a couple of which didn't go off. I will tell you, he was being a nice guy, because 5 days before a wedding, you're usually paid in full.
Your Honor.
5 days before a wedding, you're paid in full, and it doesn't make any difference what the reason is that the wedding is canceled, because he makes certain preparations. He's there to make a living. If you had a contract and you wanted to put in the contract that you signed that an emergency, an act of God, something else gives me the right to get my deposit back, you could have done that. Put it in the contract and signed it. You didn't. You had a valid agreement with him. He's a working man. You have to pay him.
Your Honor, please may I add one point?
Yes, I'll hear you.
He was obviously not the only vendor that we worked with. We had a venue. We had people that were taking pictures for us. All of these vendors were so willing to work with us and were so sympathetic and gave us extensions, and all have been willing to work with us.
Absolutely.
And he was the only one that acted accordingly.
I'm not.
This, like you said, this was an act of God. We at no time.
It wasn't in your contract. There was no provision for that in your contract. You know, if you got sick with the flu the day before your reception and you were in bed with 105 fever, do you think he's not entitled to get paid?
Your Honor, it wasn't a matter of that we didn't want to pay him. We just wanted to reschedule the wedding because I lost my child.
Did you? Just a second. Listen to me.
Yes, Your Honor, we did. And I called him and told him in January of 2014 that we had a new date. And he said, I can't commit to that date because of whatever reason. Then my husband called him and asked to speak with him about what was going on. This gentleman was so rude. He turned around and told...
Now, did you give him the date when you called him in January?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
And he said to you, I can't commit to that date.
And I said, that's okay, but he still needed to provide us a service. And I tried to email him, Your Honor, because this gentleman is actually a friend of a friend. He's not a complete stranger, unfortunately. We worked with him because we thought we were working with a friend of a friend. And we could have chosen anyone, Your Honor.
I don't care. I know you have a very sympathetic story. You're not entitled to your money back. It's very wonderful that the venue said to you, pick another date. We understand your problem. And you picked a date with the venue, right? What date did you pick with the venue?
July 5th.
A year later.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's set, July 5th. And you had a photographer.
Yes, Your Honor, but these people were constantly in contact with us throughout the year as well.
Okay. You don't gauge someone else's conduct by what other people are doing. You can't do that. It's unreasonable.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Ati Hakimi and husband Ali Ranjbar claim DJ Farshad Khorshidian owes for the return of the deposit to DJ their wedding. Farshad is countersuing for the unpaid balance of his fee.
Now, you had an agreement, and you canceled the agreement. He lost money. He couldn't rebook that date 5 days in advance over a July 4th, and maybe he wasn't available on the date that you and the venue selected for your function. He doesn't have to be available. If you can't get everybody together and you're going to have a wedding and the venue is available, the photographer is available, the caterer is available, but the DJ isn't available, what do you... I want you to follow my thought.
Yes.
The venue is available, the date that you wanted. Photographer is available, the date that you wanted. Your caterer is available, the date you wanted. So now you have 3 people. Then you call the DJ, the entertainment, and say, wedding is ready. I'm calling you. It's July 5th. And he says to you, that's not a good date for me.
Correct, Your Honor.
Because he said it's not a good date for you, do you go back to the vendor and say, can we pick another date? It's not good for my entertainment? You sued him for the return of your money. You're not entitled to it.
I asked him, well then, since he owes us a service for the...
He doesn't owe you for a service. It's not in here that he owes you for a service. That's an accommodation that the other people gave you. Mm-hmm. I don't know what your contract read with the venue, if you cancel within a certain period of time because they can't rebook that time, so they're really losing money because they could have had 2 events, and now they're only going to get 1 event. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so everybody's in business of making money. You've taken a venue that could have had a party on July 6th, 2013, which is your party, and made $5,000. And then July 5th, 2014, and made $5,000. So now together they made $10,000. Well, because they were nice to you, they're only going to make $5,000. That's very nice of them. That's not the standard for him. He says, I'm a single person that provides a service. I can't afford to make, instead of making my $900 here, my $900 here, it's $1,800, I can't afford to make only $6, which is what you gave him as a deposit.
If you kind of look at his contract, he clearly identifies that events that are beyond his control, he's not responsible.
Why didn't you sign the contract? You didn't sign, he signed the contract. You wanted to have it both ways.
I sent him the money. This is the copy of the things I sent.
Why didn't you sign the contract?
This is 5 days before my wedding.
Why didn't you sign the contract?
Okay. By sending him money, this isn't clearly by the bank.
No.
I have agreed to the terms of the contract.
No, my friend, you are absolutely incorrect. It says here right in the, listen to me, it says right here in the contract, so deposits are non-refundable. I mean, if you are looking at this contract, that's what it says here. There is a reason, Mr. Ranjbar, that you didn't sign this contract. You're a very intelligent man. I don't know what the reason is why you didn't sign the contract. Clearly, he sent it to you, and you were busy with other things. Now, on what date did you, don't show me when you sent the check. On what date did you ask him to reserve the date and retain him as your entertainer? What month? Do you know?
They called me on May 28th, and...
Just a second.
They sent
Listen to me carefully. On what date did you hire him for your wedding?
June 22nd, we had a phone conversation.
No. You know, you're playing swift with me. He mailed you the contract in May, and you didn't sign it, and you didn't send it. What happened is,
I have the email, ma'am. There was no contract emailed at that time.
Listen to me, madam. Your conversation with him in June was, he said to you, where's the deposit? And where's the contract? Does that sound familiar to you, Mr. Ranjbar?
No, ma'am.
Had you gotten a deposit by mid-June?
Yes.
On what date?
On June 25th.
No, that's not mid-June. That's the end of June. That's 10 days before the wedding.
June 25th.
And you sent this contract out in May.
May 28th.
You get nothing. Not only do you get nothing, I think he was being nice to you by not saying to you, you know what, you really owe me my whole fee because I couldn't book that date. You booked another date, you got another venue, you got another caterer, you got another photographer. The only person that you couldn't get was him because he wasn't available. You don't get your money back. That's all. Case is dismissed.
What is your excuse? You may step out.
We just wanted no one to ever have to go through this.
I'm so sorry for the loss, the baby.
To work with somebody so not compassionate.
But when they pay deposits,
there's always exceptions to the rules.
I hold this date and time for that certain day.
We all have forgotten how to be human beings.
And that's how I make living.
And to realize the world is not about money after all.
Business. Business is business.
I guess that speaks louder than words nowadays.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lewis versus Clark. Step forward.
Norman Lewis is suing his former son-in-law, Rogers Clark, for the unpaid balance on a truck he purchased for him and his stepdaughter.
Mr. Clark, I'm going to start with you, sir. You were, for a brief time, married to Mr. Lewis's stepdaughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And while you were married to Mr. Lewis's stepdaughter, the two of you, let's say the two of you, were in need of a second car. Mr. Lewis was kind enough to offer to purchase a car for the two of you. And he did, and spent how much money, sir?
A little over $5,000.
And that was when?
That would have been in October of 2012.
Now, Mr. Clark, I am correct that you primarily use this truck.
Yes, ma'am.
And while you and Mr. Lewis's stepdaughter were still together, payments were made to Mr. Lewis on the truck.
Yes, ma'am.
And the truck was in your name and your wife's name.
Yes, ma'am.
But then you and your wife separated and ultimately divorced.
Yes.
You took the truck.
Yes.
You have the truck.
Yes.
You stopped paying for the truck.
No, ma'am.
Are you still paying for the truck?
No, ma'am.
Has Mr. Lewis been paid off for the truck?
No, ma'am.
So that you are driving the truck. The truck is now in your name alone?
No, ma'am.
It's in your name and your ex-wife's name?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. If the truck was in your name alone, Mr. Clark, would you pay for the truck?
Absolutely.
Great. Isn't that wonderful? Do you have the title?
I do have the title.
Wonderful. You're the ex-wife?
Yes.
Great. Why don't you sign the title over to Mr. Clark?
Your Honor, may I make a comment?
Yes.
My daughter also executed a state of Colorado power of attorney for motor vehicle purposes that actually assigned all right, title, interest, and responsibility to Mr. Clark.
So then she wouldn't have any objection to signing over the title to him?
I did not even know about that, Your Honor.
Mr. Clark was informed of it.
Fine. Let's be happy here. I'm
Absolutely.
about ready to make everybody happy and whole.
Okay.
Right? Great. You can step up and sign that, please. Do you have a pen that you can let them borrow? You have a pen in your pocket?
I do not. That's a cell phone stylus.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you need to print your name there and sign there.
As Clark?
No, you're on there as Westbrook.
Now you're going to pay for it, right?
Absolutely, Your Honor.
How much is left on it?
I have actually a statement here as to the total expenses involved, including a principal balance on
Listen,
the truck,
just
which
give
is
me
$3,601.04.
That's all I want to know. What's left on the truck? $3,600. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Isn't that easy? Perfect. Give him the title. Now pay it off.
Excuse, you may step out.
I'm happy it's the close of a chapter of my life.
I gave him many, many opportunities to either pay me off or return the truck, and he declined to do either.
It was just not going to happen.
The situation is the poster child for no good deed goes unpunished.
Just move on.
Glad to put a stop to it and get on with life.
Syed Ali is suing dog owner Abram Miller for car damage from a dog attack.
Mr. Ali, you bought yourself a Tesla.
Yes, ma'am.
A new one?
Yes.
When did you buy it?
I bought it on 6th of June.
Of this year?
Yes.
How much did you pay for it, sir?
68.
And there was a loan on the car?
There's a loan on the car, yes.
So you have full insurance on the car?
Yes.
What's your deductible?
Deductible is $1,000.
$1,000.
Yes.
This is what your case is about. You were going to check on a child's house of yours.
Yes, ma'am. It's my son's house. I go there every day. We bought that house for on my son's and my name. It's from.
Oh, so it's a house that's jointly owned by you and your son?
Yes, ma'am.
But you don't live there regularly?
I don't live there.
And where does Mr. Miller live?
He lives on a different street, but his backyard and my backyard, they meet each other in the back.
How long have you owned that house?
Since 2014.
Long time.
Long time.
Have you met Mr. Miller?
I met him a few times, yes.
Mr. Miller, you recall meeting Mr. Ali?
Yes, ma'am. Once, ma'am.
And your son lives in the house. Anybody else live in the house? You live in the house. Is this a tenant in the house?
She is a tenant.
Yes. Does your son have dogs?
No.
And does the tenant have a dog?
She does.
What kind of dog?
A Yorkie.
You have a Yorkie?
Yes.
It's a small dog.
Yes.
Yes.
So you have one Yorkie in the house. And you have 2 dogs.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind?
A pit bull breed.
Pit bull?
Yes, ma'am.
And the other?
No, both are the same.
Both are the same.
One's actually the mom and the son.
And how old are they?
The mom's 10, the son's about 8.
And you've had them for years?
Since they were born.
So June 16th, you go to check on the house.
Yes.
Tell me what you saw when you pulled up to the house.
When I went there to the house to check my mail, I saw 2 dogs.
Where did you see the 2 dogs?
I saw them in the porch.
On your porch?
Yes.
Okay. Had you ever seen?
The big size, there are black and white, and they're, you know.
One was black and white or both black and white?
No, the one is black and white, and I have some pictures of them.
Oh, you took photos?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Judge.
You took photos of them on the porch or initially when you saw them?
After I saw them, I was walking out, then I took the picture.
Okay, may I see the photograph? Take out the photographs of your dogs. Would you say, give me both photographs, please? I see. One is black.
One is white.
And one is fawn color and white. Are these pictures of your dogs?
Those are pictures of my dogs.
At his house?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now your dogs are out. You're not at his house, just your dogs.
Just the dogs.
Okay. So now I got it. So you took pictures of the dogs the day of this incident at your house?
Yes.
And these are your dogs?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Tell me what happened with your car.
Dog owner Abram Miller owes for car damage after his dogs attacked Syed's Tesla.
Okay, tell me what happened with your car.
Then I realized that I think maybe I need to get away from them because they were very ferocious and growling. And I quietly walked away from them, go to my car, lock myself in, and I said, I need to get out. So I saw them, they were jumping all around my car and biting everything.
They were biting what?
Biting the right side of the tire, this side, and the rim and all that.
What your claim is that the dogs caused a substantial amount of damage to your car.
Right.
May I see the photographs of the damage?
Yes, ma'am.
So the car had scratches on it, I see. And what about the wheel rim?
And they went into the front and bit on the bumper.
May I see that? Okay, have you seen the pictures?
Yes, ma'am.
He sent you pictures of damage.
He sent me some pictures, yes.
Of the damage. Okay, so now, Mr. Miller, what Mr. Ali is saying is that your dogs, who he has pictures of, that you acknowledge are your dogs,
Yes, ma'am.
caused damage to his car that he had for a week, that he paid almost $70,000 for. The dogs were clearly outside of your control. They were out of your control because you acknowledge that the photographs of them are without collars, without leashes, nobody around them, and the photographs are taken at his house. I'd like to hear a defense.
Your Honor, there was no way for my dogs to have done the damage. My dogs are older. One of them has no teeth. We have to put water and stuff on her food just so she can eat. The other dog's teeth are filed down. Both of them are up in age. My dogs have never harmed anyone. I have 10 cars of my own. Any damage.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why they call dogs dogs. They're animals.
Yes, ma'am.
Because on one dog, it looks as if the incisors are filed down a little bit. Still has teeth, but the incisors are filed down. Is what you're telling me that that was a natural process or you had them filed down?
No, ma'am. Absolutely natural.
Absolutely not what?
Absolutely natural.
Absolutely natural. Okay, so the dogs still have teeth. They are smoother rather than sharp, but they still have teeth. Okay, but that's why they're dogs. You weren't there to witness this, so I have to assume that what the plaintiff tells me is true because his evidence is consistent with that. He has photographs of your dogs outside of your control, no collar, no leash, at his house. And he said that he took those to his car. Now, if somebody has that problem, they don't want to blame the wrong person. And the dogs he's identified as causing the damage are your dogs. I'm still waiting for a defense. You mean the fact that they've never done it before you think is a defense?
No, ma'am, not.
What were they doing outside of your control?
They actually got out of my yard from a previous tenant of his dogs that dug a hole up under my gate.
Just a second. So a previous tenant of his had a dog.
I had several dogs.
Several dogs.
Yes, ma'am.
Doesn't live there anymore, dug a hole under the fence. When did that happen?
That was earlier that year.
Okay, and when did you first discover it?
I didn't realize it until after this incident.
Are you trying to tell me that it happened earlier in the year and your dogs just found the hole? They had never been out before? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I don't believe that, sir. You're responsible for his deductible. Did you have the car fixed?
No, not yet, ma'am.
Why not?
I have an estimate, and I approached him of that, and I said, let's see if we can do something about this.
Mr. Ali.
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
have
ma'am.
insurance.
Yes.
And you have insurance for. Did you advise your insurance company?
I wasn't, because I was trying to see what my good friend neighbor wants to do.
Do you own your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have homeowners insurance?
Yes, ma'am.
Does the homeowners insurance exclude your pit bulls?
Do they exclude them? I'm not sure.
Well, in what state do you live?
Florida.
In Florida. Would you look up and see what's the name of your insurance carrier?
I'm not sure, Your Honor. I just switched insurance companies.
Did you have insurance, homeowners insurance, in June?
Yes, ma'am.
You did?
Absolutely.
Well, did you inform your insurance company that there was a problem?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because I was trying to get an understanding of what was going on.
I'm just telling you what's going on. So now you know what's going on. Your dogs caused damage to his car. Most states now exclude certain dogs from their policy. One that's insuring them. You do understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now you understand that your policy exclude your pit bulls.
I don't think so. No, ma'am.
Well, I don't know, and I don't know how to find that out unless you can give me a definitive answer, Sarah. It depends upon the insurance company.
It does.
Yeah, and you don't remember your insurance company. So, Mr. Ali, he's not paying the $8,000 that it's going to take to fix your car. That's what you have insurance for. Okay? But he's going to pay the deductible. You have insurance. It's a brand new car because you have a loan. So you must have insurance, which I'm sure you do.
Yes, I do.
Then if you were having a difficult time with Mr. Miller and his insurance, which I could probably understand because it may exclude his dogs from the policy, you have to advise your insurance company. And I don't understand why you didn't do that.
But I was going to see if he wants to go ahead and fix it.
Well, he's not paying $8,000 to fix it. He's going to pay the $1,000 deductible on your policy.
He was suggesting me that he could just go and get a spray paint and paint that little thing. And I didn't like that idea. And I said, let's go to Tesla and have it done by the properly from...
Absolutely. For the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000, which covers your deductible. We're finished.
This court is adjourned. Animal control said my dogs were so loving and peaceful. They showed no aggression to them.
I mean, I like to have people as good neighbors.
Even after they put the pole and the hoop around their necks, my dogs were wagging their tails.
The neighbor's dog has some damage to my car, and I want the neighbor to be up to that responsibility.
The plaintiff bought a new Tesla and has a loan on the Tesla. When you have a loan on a car, you're required by the lender to maintain insurance, both collision and liability. This is not a malicious act. It was a careless act. And I think he should use his insurance to pay for it. I think it was fair. I don't think that there was an issue of fact. Did you?
No, I didn't. I think that that was fair because you have insurance for that purpose so that you don't have to pay $8,000 out of pocket to fix damage from it.
Kelly and Robert Burrows are suing their former friends, Marina and David Quadra, for illegal eviction and property damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everybody.
Hello, Judge. Case 2072, Burrows versus Quadra.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. and Mrs. Quadra, you were living in a home, in a house?
Correct, a townhome.
That you didn't own. And for how long had you been renting that home?
We did not rent out the home.
How long, if you didn't own it, then you were renting it?
We rented it for 2 years, Your Honor.
It gets scarier if you have a fixed position in your head so that you're not listening to my questions. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did your lease start?
July of 2020.
And when was it to terminate?
It was terminated August 1st, 2022.
And it was terminated by an eviction?
Correct.
And you were evicted because the landlord said that you sublet the apartment to these people and their family?
Correct.
And they were people who you knew, both in the military?
Just him.
What do you do?
I'm a federal employee.
And you?
I'm active duty, ma'am.
But you knew each other from work?
Correct.
Where did you move in August?
National City, Your Honor.
How far is that from your prior residence?
It's about 30 miles south, Your Honor.
Are you in a home that you own or that you rent?
We are still renting.
How much are you paying in rent?
$21.50 a month.
You have a signed lease?
We do.
When did that lease start? To live in National City?
It is closer to where he is stationed.
It is also
Don't speak.
Yes, Your Honor.
How much closer?
To his job.
To his job.
It went from a 30-minute drive to a 15-minute drive.
Okay, so that's better.
Correct.
You were evicted. You were served a notice of eviction on what date?
They let us know a month before August. They gave us a 30-day notice.
Now, did the plaintiffs have any furniture in the home that you were evicted from?
Prior to us being evicted, yes.
Yes, prior to your being evicted. And what furniture did they have?
2 dressers and a bunk bed.
Anything else?
That's as far as furniture.
And what furniture did you have in there prior to being evicted?
A full living room.
And when did you move that out? On what date?
The 30th of July, 2 days before our moving date.
So you moved out all of your furniture?
Correct.
And how much were you paying in rent in the place from which you were evicted?
$25.95.
Oh, I didn't write that down. How much were you paying in the new place?
The place we are in now, $21.50. Substantially smaller.
And substantially closer to his place of employment.
Correct.
Good. Now, do you want to tell me your version of how they came to be living in your house?
We received a call one night. It was very late, 10 p.m. Robert was very upset, crying. He had nowhere to go.
He?
Correct. Robert had nowhere to go, and Kelly was asking for a divorce. He asked if he could crash on the couch. We have a toddler at home, so I asked him to sleep in our guest bedroom instead of the couch. He stayed that first original night, and the next day he needed to job hunt as he was jobless. We offered to watch his child. He looked for the job and he came home. He asked us if he could stay for a while in that guest bedroom until he got onto his feet with the job. He offered money to just help out with utilities and
how much?
$1,000.
$1,000 a month?
No, just $1,000. And our words, when he had asked, and we asked him, how long do you think it will take you to get on your feet? It was just a couple weeks.
Okay, so he was offering $1,000,
correct,
which was 40% of your rent, to stay for 2 weeks, to stay in your guest bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty decent. Did he give you the $1,000?
He did.
And he gave you the $1,000 on what date?
He gave us the $1,000 on May 29th.
And when did he start staying there?
He started staying with us May 21st.
Then what happened?
He stayed with us for about a week. Everything was okay. He job hunted. I helped with the child. He confided in us that he wanted to work on his marriage with Kelly. He did not want the divorce. It was something that she had asked for. They wanted to work on it together and had asked if Kelly could come around to stay with him and the children and work on their marriage.
When he moved into the guest room, did he take the children? Did he have the children with him?
He did, but it was just on certain nights. They were sharing.
And then he asked if Kelly could come as well.
Correct.
The wife. And what did you say? Why couldn't he go home?
He could not go home due to their relationship with her parents. Their parents.
Oh, she was living with her parents.
Correct.
And they were both living with her parents.
Correct.
So he said, I can't go home. We want to work on the marriage. Could we come and stay here with you?
Correct.
They have 2 kids?
They have 3.
They have 3 kids. And how many dogs?
4.
4 dogs. So far, you get 4 stars if you let her come.
I wish it would have worked that way.
No. You don't understand that that's where I'm at so far.
Yeah, of course.
So now, May 29th, he gives you the $1,000. She moves in when with the dogs?
So we had a long trip planned to Vegas. We let them know that after we had left, she could come stay while we were gone.
What month? June?
June, correct.
How long were you away?
We were away for 5 to 6 days. A plan of, here's a lease agreement, you are going to rent from us. It was just that I need somewhere to stay. Can they please come for this short period of time until we figure this out?
Great. Okay, now let me hear your version of the events. When you went to stay there with your children, you were having trouble with your wife.
That's incorrect.
Incorrect. What I said was, because I believe her, I believe that you called her and said exactly what she said. She told me. I mean, I didn't have to have Whitney read it back. I believe that that's what you said. So I don't want to hear baloney about school districts. You were having trouble with your wife.
And later today.
You can't have it both ways.
It's a complicated case.
It's not complicated. It's very simple. You didn't have a written contract. If you had an oral contract, that's one thing.
Kelly and Robert Burrows claim their former friends, Marina and David Quadra, owe for an illegal eviction. Marina and David are countersuing, saying Kelly and Robert caused them to be evicted.
So when you went to their house and you wanted to work on your marriage, you could have gone back to your in-laws.
Yes, that's correct.
You could have. Why didn't you?
The reason why we decided to split up was because we're trying to keep our kids in the same school district. I decided to stay back to finish the school year with the kids, still being in May, so they can finish in the same school district. That's why I decided I needed a mailing address so that they could stay in the same school district.
So you mean this discussion that she just said to me about you having problems, marital problems with your wife, that never happened?
Irrelevant. It's just...
No, that's not what I said. What I said was, because I believe her. I believe that that's what happened. I believe that you called her and said exactly what she said. She told me. I mean, I don't have to have Whitney read it back. I believe that that's what you said. So I don't want to hear baloney about school districts. You were having trouble with your wife.
No, ma'am.
No.
No.
And you didn't tell her that.
We had been moved out of our old place of 6 years in El Cajon, and we were trying for 6 months to find a new place. So yes, it does put a lot of stress on a relationship, but we did not have any marital...
Mr. Burrows, you know what my strong suit is, and there's no question that the cameras just caught your face. My strong suit is being able to spot a lie from a mile away. And I'm telling you that there's no question that you called her late at night and said, I'm having trouble with my wife. She asked me for a divorce. Can I? Liar. So maybe it wasn't true, but that's what you told her.
Your Honor, may I speak?
You want me to call your parents?
Please do.
Would you like me to call your parents? I'm just asking you, would you like me to call your parents?
No.
Of course not. That's an easy thing for me to do.
Part of what was going on was that we lived in our home for 6 years and the homeowners had moved back in, and so they asked us to leave, and we had been actively searching for a home. So yes, it did put a bit of a strain on our marriage, and I took my dogs with me so that I can keep my operating business at my parents' house because I am a dog boarder, dog sitter, and I did not want to shut my business down. And during this time, tensions, little things happening at my parents' house. So I said, you need to go see if you can rent a room or find somebody that can help you in the meantime till we can actively keep searching for a place for our family. We tried 5 different homes and we didn't.
I don't care. What I said to your husband was he lied to me. Because there's no question that he called, and whether it was true or not, that he said to your friends, I need a place to go. Do you have a place that I could stay on the couch? There's no question he said that to her.
That is true. Yes, that is true.
Okay. Well, then I want you to introduce your husband to the truth.
Is it true?
It's something that he hasn't met, because that's not what he told me what happened.
Correct.
So that was a mistake. Happens when you lied to me once, your case is dismissed. Because what you're suing for is being evicted, and you go, blah, 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 emotional distress. You lie to me once, your case is dismissed. Now, we're going to come over here. You have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim is money owed for property damage.
Correct.
And for damages for eviction. Because what happened was your landlord evicted you because she comes with her 4 dogs, 3 gerbils, 2 parakeets to your house, and the owner of your condo doesn't want her any more than the owner of their last condo.
Of course.
Didn't want them. Got to save your money, buy your own house so you can have as many dogs and parakeets as you like. You moved into a place that's nicer?
Absolutely not.
Tell me what the papers said when your landlord notified you of the eviction. Do you have them?
We do.
I'd like to take a look at them.
Yes, no problem. There was also in that piece of paper a $250 fine through our HOA from the whole commotion that he caused the day of asking them to leave.
Just a second, you were a month-to-month tenant.
Correct. And then when the year was up, we moved month to month.
They didn't evict you.
No, they just gave us, they asked
Just a
us
second.
to leave.
Your lawsuit is for damages, punitive damages for an eviction. You weren't evicted.
Well, we were asked to leave if we...
No, they just decided not to renew your month-to-month lease.
Due to the...
I don't care what it was due to. Listen, if I owned a property and you let 3 kids, 4 dogs moved into my condo for 6 days, I wouldn't renew your lease on a month-to-month basis either. I don't care whether they were there for 2 days, 4 days, a week, or a month. You understand?
Understood.
Okay, so there was no eviction. So the punitive damages for that, forget it. Money owed for property damage. When they moved out, what did they damage? And how much did it cost you?
There was a hole in the molding from moving the dressers down our stairs. They bonked it bringing it out angrily because they were mad that we asked them to leave. We have the letters from our landlord stating everything that they had to deduct from our deposit.
Just a second, a hole in the wall. And how much was the hole in the wall?
The molding was...
No, just look at the paper and tell me how much was the hole in the wall.
The painting was $180 and the molding repair was $200.
Now, did you damage the molding when you were moving a dresser out of the house?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, not that you're aware of. You want to try the truth now? Was there a hole that you created moving a dresser out of the house?
When David and I were moving our
dresser with him? Careful, introducing you to the truth. Did you move the dresser with him?
I did help move the furniture.
Your case is dismissed. The
I would think with
counterclaim,
the
the counterclaim likewise is dismissed. We're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I take it as a win. The initial suit was them against us. Their suit got dismissed.
We lost a lot of things and a lot of wages.
That was just us being good friends. We definitely learned our lesson. We will never help another crying husband on our doorstep claiming divorce again.
People that are offering to be nice to you in times of need don't charge you.
They kind of cried, oh, marriage and divorce the whole time, knowing that we're young and married. It's something we take seriously in our lives.
And we're still trying to build our lives back.
I should actually make a party to introduce all those people to Mr. Truth.
I agree. There's a lot of mismatch. Doesn't make sense. If you're going to stay with a friend for a few days, you don't bring a bunk bed and 2 dressers.
No.
I've stayed with friends for a couple days, long weekend. You bring a bag with some clothes.
Even with your kids.
Yeah, you don't bring furniture. You don't bring any of that. So there's a lot of discrepancies.
Things that didn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, it's you.
Xin chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đã đến với series tô màu tranh trên kênh của mình nha. Hôm nay thì chúng mình sẽ cùng nhau tô màu cho bức tranh này nhé. Các bạn hãy cùng mình theo dõi đến cuối video để xem là mình sẽ tô màu và hoàn thiện cho bức tranh này như thế nào nha. Cùng mình theo dõi nhé. Đầu tiên thì chúng mình sẽ cùng nhau tô cho đôi bông tai nha. Mái tóc thì mình sẽ tô màu nâu ha. Đức lại chơi đấy. Chơi game ấy. Chơi gì vậy Đức? Khai màu.
Hồi lút ý kết.
Cái gì?
Tẩu thoát khỏi
anh Đậu mà có series mới đấy. Mới có game mới đấy.
Game gì?
Hành trình vượt biển ra đại dương, vượt cái gì ra đại dương ấy.
Biết game Ý.
Cái game con thì như con cá nó mắc ở đâu xong rồi phải trở về đại dương ấy.
Nó kiểu bị nhốt xong rồi nó về biển cả đúng không?
Ta không chắc nhưng mà ta phải ghi là hành trình vượt cái gì trở về tìm về biển lớn ấy.
Đúng rồi, cái biết game Ý rồi.
Mày gì em mày?
Hành trình anh Đậu về biển.
Mình sẽ tô hết xuống đây nha, mái tóc khá là dài.